In all but the agnostic and atheistic groups, the training and teaching of children about the concept of God in a given culture begin at the earliest possible age of comprehension and understanding. Customarily, long before children are capable of understanding any philosophical and abstract consideration of God, they are exposed to the system of rituals that the given people has evolved over thousands of years. The rituals from a part of their recognition of worship of and obedience of their concepts of God. Thus, long before there is true cognitive understanding, there is participation in the practice of recognizing God. This participation in practice becomes a part of children's and ultimately adults' concept and image of self in relationship to the total environment, but also in relationship to the highest and ultimate focus of their worship, devotion, and obedience to the God of the people. Happy Monday, happy Monday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and on Mondays, we review the ISIS Papers, The Keys to Colors by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And this week, we are reviewing chapters 13, 14, and 15. All right. And, we getting into it. Chapter 13 is the concept and the color of God and Black mental health. All of us have been programmed to think that God is white. The concept of goodness is white. The concept of godliness is white. The concept of purity is white. And the concept of all things evil is black. Right? So, once again, chapter 13, the concept and color of God and Black mental health in the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. She also goes on to say, for it is the totality of experience in the environment from the moment of birth that forms the self-image and self-concept in the brain computer of each human being. From this self-image of self and self-concept, all patterns of behavior evolve. Likewise, from the entire constellation of behavior in the individual, the determination of mental health or mental illness is made. The environments that we grow up in, they contribute to our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, our emotional health, our physical health. The total health and the total well-being of any human being, but especially a black person in the system of white supremacy in America, is dependent upon the environment that we exist in on a regular basis, the environment that we develop in. What are we being taught in this environment? Remember, you are what you eat. You are what you eat is more than just what you ingest through your mouth. You are what you eat is everything that you take in through your total being. Everything in your total being is going to shape your concept of yourself and your place in the world. And your concept, if you have a concept of a God, your concept of your God has to be a concept that is favorable to you, or else you will only be fit to be oppressed or be fit to be a slave. As a practicing general and child psychiatrist, my definition of mental health is as follows. Patterns of logic, thought, speech, action, and emotional response in all areas of people activity that simultaneously reflect self and group respect and respect for harmony in the universe. Wow. Let me read that again. Patterns of logic, thought, speech, action, and emotional response in all areas of people activity that simultaneously reflect self and group respect and respect for harmony in the universe. The way we engage with each other, the way we respect each other, if we have respect for each other at all, that goes back to our overall level of mental health. How healthy are we mentally? How well are we mentally in our environments, especially if we are violent to ourselves and each other? If we're violent and destructive to ourselves, then that means our mental health is not at its greatest peak. It's not on par. Our mental health is not well. We need help. We need help. We need therapy. We need counseling. We need all of that to get back on track, to make sure that we are uplifting and empowering each other rather than destroying each other. The oppression of Black and other non-white people means that there is no non-white self-determination. Now she's getting into the psychology behind the racism. The psychology behind the racist. If I'm a person who's destructive to another group of people, that means I see myself as not worthy of anything, and this is how I am going to try to attain my self-concept, my self-worth. The oppression of Black and other non-white people means that there is no non-white self-determination. It also means, most fundamentally, that there can be no true and functional Black self-respect. More specifically, and that is saying, you get that? I'm gonna read that again. It also means, most fundamentally, that there can be no true and functional Black self-respect. In order for the system of white supremacy to thrive, Black self-respect has to be at a minimum. Black people who have respect for themselves will not allow themselves to be oppressed continuously. They will find a way to get to the solution. They will graduate from circular thought. They will rewire and reprogram themselves from circular thought to linear thought, which goes from problem to just problem to complaining, from problem to complaining, back to problem to solution in linear thought, right? Okay, more specifically, this means that the existing levels of non-white functional self-respect as manifested in all areas of people activity are extremely low. These low levels of functional self-respect imply that the self-image and the self-concept are more negative than positive. Likewise, the impact of non-white individual and collective behavior in and on the local environment is more negative than positive, right? And we can see that the overall degrading of the environment overall, they literally destroy the earth to try to be powerful. They're literally willing to destroy the earth to gain power. The overall environment is in decline. No matter how good it may look, the overall environment is on a decline. That is because white supremacy. White supremacy is all about destruction. White supremacy is all about destruction at all cost. To have a negative impact on the total environment is a manifestation of behavioral powerlessness. To have a negative impact on the total environment is a manifestation of the self-image and self-concept as powerless. To have a negative impact on the total environment is a manifestation of having been shaped and molded by the total environment into a functional inferior through the process of inferiorization. The process of oppression is to mold the victims of oppression into functional inferiors. Because we feel inferior, the only way to feel better about ourselves is to make others feel even more inferior than we do. So we will go out of our way to oppress the non-white people of the world. So therefore the white minority can have the power of the Black majority. It's not real intrinsic power. It's colonized power. It's power that has been gained over the millennia, over the centuries, because of destruction and domination. But at the end of it, they still realize that they are genetically inadequate. And that's her theory. It still goes back to trying to get over the genetic inadequacy, and at the same time doing everything they can to prevent total genetic annihilation. Because in their minds, if they don't go on the attack, all non-white people of the world will systematically annihilate them out through genetics. The concept and color of God are focused on most strongly in the area of religion, although all areas of people activity overlap, influence, and fuse with one another. The global white supremacy system evolved a religion referred to as Christianity. However, it is referred to most appropriately as the dominant pattern of religious thought generated by the white supremacy system. Religion is a tool used by white supremacy to conquer the earth. to make sure that genetic annihilation doesn't happen. So we're going to use religion as a tool, and religion is going to be something that's going to make our enemies not only see us as God, but make them passive. Absolutely critical to the white supremacy system of religious thought was the formation of the image of a white man as the Son of God. A white man is the Son of God. This white male image then was referred to as Christ. No matter that the prophet Jesus was a black man, because the brain computer functions most fundamentally on logic circuits at deep unconscious levels, it automatically computes that God the Father is also a white male. If God is other than white, he would have produced a black or a non-white son. So that's what the brain computer is saying. Well, you keep constantly seeing images of God. We know what the Bible says. We know what the passages in the Bible said. Skin of bronze and hair of wool. We know that. But the image of God that we see, we will read that in the book and then go into the church and see the image of the white man hanging from the cross, or just the constant images of the white Jesus. So if you see constant images of the white Jesus, then the brain will start to compute that, if Jesus is white and Jesus is the Son of the Father, then the Father must be white. I mean, that only makes sense, don't it? That makes sense to me. If Jesus is white and Jesus is the Son of the Father, then the Father has to be white. Now, that's the computing. That's the programming. Because if you see God as you see yourself, then you might fight back against your oppressor. Thus, any person programmed to accept the Christian religion, whether conscious of it or not, has the image and concept of God as a white man and the logic network of his or her higher brain computer. You see God as white if you grew up in the Christian system, basically. Unless you have been reprogrammed, you still see God as white. All right. That's the whole purpose. That's one of the whole purposes of the Christian religion, literally being beaten into us and given to us and molded into us. See God as white. See your oppressor as the same color as your God, and you won't have the mindset. You won't have the spirit to fight back. But if you do fight back, then we do have things, because remember what I just read about black fear, what we just read on Saturday about black fear. If you do want to fight back, then we have consequences for you fighting back. So future generations won't want to fight back. The same as when they take the slave and they take the big black buck and they beat the big black buck down in front of all the other slaves, especially the children, especially the women and the children, because they know that the woman will go out of her way to protect that child. Even if she have to make that child docile, she will go out of her way to protect that child, to keep that child alive. It's the mental programming, the psychology behind the racism. Couple this image and concept of God as a white man with the white supremacy system's formal definition of God as the supreme or ultimate reality, the being of perfect power, wisdom, and goodness, whom men worship as creator and ruler of the universe. Then, of absolute necessity, the logic circuits of the human brain computer have to print out the white man as God, the Father of the white male Christ, is the supreme or ultimate reality. The white man is the being perfect in power, wisdom, and goodness, whom all men should worship, who worship as creator and ruler of the universe. With this unconscious logic circuit of God is the white man firmly in place, white domination over non-white people could last for 1 trillion years. This would be true if this critical and essential logic connection could be implanted and plugged into the brain computer of a sufficient number of black, brown, and red and yellow people who constitute the vast majority of the peoples on the planet. With the white man as God, the non-white global collective would be obedient to the white man always. I mean, what more can I say? I'm just saying, it's right there. How you gonna fight back at something that you see as God? For Nat Turner to fight back, he had to have a reprogramming of his mind. For any black person who came up in the system of Christianity to fight back against the white man, they had to have a reprogramming of the mind. We have to reprogram our minds. Even though those of us who think our minds are reprogrammed, you might have to think again and continue to do the work. Continue to do the work, because if we don't see any tangible results from the things that we're doing, if we're not seeing any tangible results from the reprogramming of our mind, then that means we still got work to do. The reprogramming of the mind isn't just to say, well, my light switch came on, I've reprogrammed. No, it's to build, it's to get from under the system of white supremacy. That's the whole object of it, is to get from under the system of white supremacy. Thus, all black and other non-white peoples who profess to be members of the Christian religion, whether they are conscious of it or not, worship the white man as God, but as that worship. Let me read that again. Thus, all black and other non-white peoples who profess to be members of the Christian religion, whether they are conscious of it or not, worship the white man as God, not as a God, but as the God. And in the unconscious logic networks of the individual brain computers lies the logic that the white man is the supreme or ultimate reality, the being in perfect power, wisdom, and goodness, whom men worship as creator and ruler of the universe. It's right there. If you see your enemy as God, you won't fight back. I'm just saying. But she also goes on to say, however, no matter what level of initial trauma felt when this logic circuit is brought to conscious awareness, it must come fully to light and be yanked out. Read that again. However, no matter what level of initial trauma felt when this logic circuit is brought to conscious awareness, it must come fully to light and be yanked out. Saying the same thing I'm saying. Got to have a total reprogramming of your mind. You cannot continue to see your oppressor as your God. You can't. You have to reprogram yourself. Now, look, growing up, I said this before and I said it again. Growing up in my household, even though both of my parents subscribed to the Christian religion, we had nothing but images of black people in our house. Yes, especially my mom's. My mom's would buy books that had images of white Jesus and white God and white disciples and all those things in it. But overall, the images of people that we see, the images of greatness and success were black people. So we had a kind of counter to it. And then hammering home the idea through the passages that are Skin of Bronze and Hair of Wood. Now, that wasn't enough. I will say that wasn't enough. What had to happen was a total reprogramming. When I got to FAMU, I started studying black psychology and more black history, and I started getting in depth to it. That helped me to rid my white concept of a God, my white concept of Jesus. And then when I really started studying African spiritual systems and starting seeing the black deities, oh man, it was over. It was over for the white Jesus in my mind. It was over. Even though I understand that white Jesus is everywhere around me. I'm in the South. I'm in the Bible Belt. I'm in the northern part of Florida. The part of Florida that I'm in, it's not the part of Florida that you imagine yourself coming to. When you imagine yourself coming to Florida, you imagine yourself coming from Orlando down. So I'm in the Bible Belt. Religion is king here, where I'm from. But through all of that, proper education, proper reprogramming helped me to get rid of the white image of God, or the white image of Jesus, right? And so from then on, every other image of a deity that I would consume on my own, because at that point I'm in charge. I have the autonomy. I have the power to dictate what I learn, because I'm an adult at this point. I'm 18 at this point, 18, 19 at this point. I dictate what I learn, and I make sure that I surrounded myself and I inundated myself with images of black deities, overthrowing the programming that was attempted to give, because the Christianity never really stuck with me. I never brought in. I would go to church and just be like, yeah, I don't believe none of this. I would be zoned out. I would be, by the time the first 10 minutes, I'm daydreaming on something. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to watch football, because I don't believe none of this. She also says, I recommend that blacks and other non-white people begin to practice consciously removing the white image of the Son of God from their brain computers, and thus removing the colored logic that God is a white man. Secondly, Blacks and other non-white peoples must practice utilizing their particular energy crystallizations, their bodies as direct connections with the God force. You have a direct connection with the force of God, with the force of nature. You have a direct connection. This means we must learn to use our energy crystallization antenna to connect with the source from which all energy flows. It is the same as plugging an electric cord into a wall socket. By so learning to tune into the cosmic energy source, it is possible to find the cosmic purpose of one's particular energy configuration known as the body. Then it will be possible to use that cosmic energy for constructive purposes, i.e., getting rid of the system of white supremacy and replacing that with the system of justice. That's what that's all about. You have a direct connection to the creative force. You have a direct connection to whatever deities that you are under. Direct connection to whatever your concept of God is. A direct connection that goes back to how African people have always practiced spirituality. Don't let Western civilization, i.e. white supremacy, make you think that you have to go through white people to get to God. Nah, you have. Matter of fact, don't let nobody tell you got to go through anybody else to get to God, to get to the God force. You got direct connection to the force. Use it. Reprogram your minds. Understand that your God does not look like your oppressor. All right, so moving on, we're going to chapter 14. Chapter 14 is about the symbolism and meaning of SV or SA. Yeah. YouTube guidelines. Can't say it the same way she said, but SV or SA. Those are the two letters I be using to describe that, the R word, grape, the grape word. But I don't. So I say SV or SA. All right. So the symbol consists of multiple levels of energy data. The hieroglyphs, higher writings or writing concerning multiple levels of energy data are written symbolic thought and language. Similarly, the parable is a statement of combined multiple levels of energy data. It is also a statement of symbolic thought. Part of our ancient heritage as Black African people is the knowledge of the symbol. This working knowledge includes the ability to speak, write, and decode symbolic language and thought. Melanin is essential for having deep knowledge of the symbol because melanin is capable of absorbing a broad spectrum of energy frequencies or data. All right. So having melanin gives us a greater capability of understanding symbology. Everything is symbol. Everything is in symbols. I hear people saying, the emojis are the returning to the hieroglyphs. And I'm like, we never really left. We're just used to the symbols that we use. The letters and the numbers that we use are symbols, but these are symbols that we have used every day of our lives and all of our existence. And it's just always been a part of our culture. So we don't see them as special. We don't see them as symbols. We don't see them as but like I said, as symbols. I'm not saying they're on the same level as hieroglyphs, but hieroglyphs, what I am saying is man never left from using symbology. Just the symbols that we use are symbols that we're used to and symbols that were given to us through Western civilization, right? But going back to, she's saying that having melanin gives you a greater ability to understand symbology. She didn't say having melanin will allow you to understand symbology, but it gives you a greater chance at understanding symbology. Therefore, these white-skinned peoples, the founders of Western civilization and culture, experience great difficulty in understanding the symbol. This is the most fundamental reasoning that Westerners have difficulty in thinking like Easterners, Black and brown people with higher levels of melanin in their nervous system and vice versa. Melanated people are functioning with a sixth sense, the additional sensory system being that of melanin pigmentation, while Westerners function only on 5 senses. So melanin, once again, gives you a greater potential and a greater chance of decoding and understanding symbol and symbology. But you have to tap into it. You have to use it. You have to exercise it like everything else. You have to develop it and exercise it through usage. You can't just say, well, because I'm black, I have access to all of the to my sixth sense. No, we can clearly see. Hey, look, we live in America. We can clearly see a lot of black people ain't got access to all five senses. All right. So we ain't gonna sit there and act like just because you're black, you have access to the sixth sense. No, but it gives you a greater access to a sixth sense. Melanin deficient educators can train non-white peoples to use only a portion of their nervous system at best. Thus, it is the responsibility of non-white peoples to take charge of developing the full use of their melanin potential. She's speaking my language. Y'all know she's speaking my language. Melanin deficient educators can train non-white peoples to use only a portion of their nervous system at best. Thus, it is the responsibility of non-white peoples to take charge of developing the full use of their melanin potential. It is on us to teach us to get to our greatest potential. But we have to realize that we have the access to our greatest potential and then tap into it and then access our greatest potential. Use it. But we have to realize it, develop it, and use it and pass it on and teach our own selves, teach our children to access the greatest and their higher abilities. They 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever senses we got. Tap into them, but we have to learn it. We have to use it. We have to tap into it and then pass the information down. It is on us. We can't be like, oh man, well, they ain't about to teach me. They ain't teach us in school. They ain't teach us this in school. They're not supposed to teach you that in their schools. Familiarity with these issues are necessary for an examination of SA as a symbol in the white supremacy system culture. SA is an unjust and sick pattern of behavior. It is a behavior pattern reflective of very low levels of self-respect and therefore of mental illness. Simultaneously, SA manifests very low levels of respect towards others. It is a horrendous violation of the selfhood of another. But she's also getting at a overall psychology behind SA in the system of white supremacy. In the system of white supremacy, the most frequent form of SA is that in which a male aggressively and abusively imposes his genitals into a female with the threat of destruction. This conduct is seen most frequently in situations of male confinement in penal institutions, juvenile corrective institutions, or psychiatric institutions, which are staffed and supervised inadequately. A fundamental aspect of SA is the imposition of the genitals upon someone considered physically weaker or vulnerable by someone who, at least superficially, looks upon himself as being more powerful and capable of subduing another. So that's only going to come about when there's a power dynamic, when somebody wants to feel more powerful. So they're going to look at somebody who is viewed as less powerful than them and go through the act to gain power. But she's also going a little further with this too. Because SA is usually in concert with violence, with war. In today's world, SA is common. In today's world, SA is common. In the US, and remember, this was written in 1980. In the US, it is reported in the highest incidence amongst members of the black population, while black males SAing black females. So basically, she's saying the highest, and within the group, a black female is more likely to experience SA from a black male. There is said to be an approximately equal instance of white males SAing black females as black males SAing white females. The incidence of white males SAing white females is lowest. In past decades, white male SA of black females was of highest incidence. So the black woman is under threat of SA from white males and black males. White males seeking to further impose their domination and black men seeking to gain power. It's all a power dynamic. When you feel inadequate, you can do extreme things to try to gain power. Now, is it actually giving you power? Well, in the sense of the black males, no. But in the broader sense of the white males through the global system of white supremacy, they are gaining some type of power. But let's continue with it so we can understand the power dynamic, or the power that is gained, or even the full spectrum of SA that she's explaining. The ability to decode symbols is essential to obtain an accurate understanding of exactly what is happening in the surrounding environment. For example, the ability to decode helps us to understand deeper meanings inherent in the major instruments evolved in the global white collective to prevent white genetic annihilation and the shaping of such instruments after the form of male genitalia, i.e. guns, bombs, cannons, cannonballs, airplanes, and nuclear missiles. It is little wonder then that the gun has been called the great equalizer, or that a white man who is really supposed to be something is referred to as a pistol. Now we're going somewhere. We're about to see the relationship between SA and violence, the SA and war, the SA and weapons. All right. At the same time, the highest percentage of money expenditure is going towards the arms race. Oh, here we go. The race for accumulating sufficient weapons by both white superpowers, hopefully sufficient to prevent global white genetic annihilation. These weapons surround all of the world's non-white peoples. Of course, this is not what is said overtly. Overtly, whites claim that the white superpowers are arming against one another. But this is the language of the white lie, the great white lie, the superior lie. Basically, she's saying that they're saying we're arming ourselves against each other. But she's saying, no, you all are arming yourselves against genetic annihilation. That's really what you arm yourselves for. And you have your phallic-shaped weapons ready to go to war against anybody who is trying to stop genetic annihilation. So SA has to happen as a tool of war. SA is a tool of war of the white supremacists. In the depths of the language itself, it is possible to understand the exact meaning of the arms race. The arms race also means the race, genetic group of people whose genetic existence is tied to the weapons of violence. Just as hidden within the word America, it is the phrase I am race. So she's saying America is really broken down to I am race. Thus, it is a symbolic anagram. The whites are the only group on the planet to develop the word race, and they have given the word maximum meaning. When you fear genetic annihilation, this is how you behave. Everything that you use to destroy your enemy is in the shape of that which you fear the most, the black phallus. The greatest weapons you have are in the shape of the black phallus. Clearly, in the global white supremacy system culture, the highest percentage of energy is directed towards the construction of weapons out of a sense of genetic and genital weakness and inadequacy. Of all of the cultures in the world, Western white supremacy has the highest levels of sense male inadequacy and male awareness of genetic and genital vulnerability, thus the need for weapons of attack. The culture clearly has equated male genitals with weapons and aggression. There you have it. We're going to destroy the world one way or the other. Well, we know we can't do it genetically, but we know we can create these weapons in the same form of our genitals. Or in the form of the black genitals. Those are our black genitals now. And then we can dominate and control the world. Right? Thus, in the white supremacy system culture, white females have been taught to focus on all black males as potential people who do SV. Black men, people who look like me, are looked at as men who commit SA, right? And that goes back to the original movie Birth of a Nation, where it led to the rise of the Klan, because the movie depicted black men as people who commit SV at a high rate, and just go around just committing SA and against anybody, especially the white woman, when the white woman has always been the sexual aggressor towards the black men. Since the contact of white women and black men, the white woman has always been in a position of power, in a position of privilege, and she's always been the sexual aggressor. But let's read further. Thus, in the white supremacy system culture, white females have been taught to focus on black males as potential people who do SV. At the same time, white females are taught to describe the males that they have the greatest level of sexual attraction for as tall, dark, and handsome. Clearly, it was no accident that once the white female began to petition for her liberation from the white male, she also began an all-out sexual aggression towards the black male in particular and other non-white males in general. Unable to admit her own sexual attractions and aggressions toward the black male consciously, she began to talk about developing anti-SV organizations to prevent SV. The protection being that white females were about to be attacked by black males. Meanwhile, the greatest incidents of SV were being conducted by black males against black females, right? Proximity violence. Proximity violence, not making an excuse, but proximity violence, right? And we're also talking about men who have been programmed under the system of white supremacy. So this is them trying to find power, trying to gain power. On the other hand, white men are doing it. They did it in the beginning to gain power. Now they're doing it to maintain power. All right? To maintain power. The above discussion is the best explanation for the white collectives, more specifically, the white males collectives' production of massive numbers of kinds of weapons of destruction which land on Black Mother Earth that are symbolic substitutes for a genetic and genital apparatus perceived as inadequate. Simultaneously, it explains the use of male genitals as weapons in the act of SV, most pronouncedly observant in the black male population. A population forced into political power and functional inadequacy by the oppression of white supremacy. All right. So we're just understanding that. She also goes on to say, in turn, black and other non-white males are forced by the same environment into thinking that their genital apparatus as destructive weapons of aggression through the act of SV. Black males engage in this activity out of their imposed frustration and sense for political powerlessness and inadequacy. Non-white male genitals are used as destructive weapons primarily against black and other non-white females. Right? So the black male genitals have been used in turn against the black woman as a weapon of aggression. Similarly, because within the context of white supremacy, more stress and pressure is placed upon the black male than on the black female. The black male often perceives that the black female has more power than himself and that she therefore does not respect his manhood. In his sense of inadequacy, he strikes out in the SV of the black female, seeking to debase her to the level which he feels debased under the power system of white domination. Right? And I don't have to explain that. I already said it. When you feel powerlessness, you're looking to gain power, and that's the method that they're using to gain power. Now, listen to this. Listen to this. India is one of the poorest countries in the world with mass levels of unemployment and starvation. Those black and brown men are feeling debased and powerless under the global white supremacy, which they still fail to understand after centuries of colonization. In India, there's a massive mental disease of people hating their skin color and wishing themselves to be as white as their early Aryan invaders. They are obsessed with a caste system based on skin color, with the blackest people looked at as untouchables. They hate themselves and feel debased under white supremacy. Also, these non-white men have not discovered yet how to feed their people. Therefore, because of this debased view of self, they SV just as Global White Collective has SV non-white women of the world and continues its SV of Black Mother Earth with weapons of pollution. SV will cease as a dominant behavior amongst black males once they begin to respect themselves fully as men, cease reacting unconsciously to the white supremacy system's attack upon them, and learn to struggle efficiently and effectively to neutralize and destroy this grave global injustice. Moving from circular thought to linear thought. Once we move from problem to problem solving and solving the problems, rather than just going from problem to complaining, back to problem to complaining, back to problem to complaining, then we will see a decrease in all of the disparities that we experience once we go to problem solving, but we have to solve our own problems. The system of white supremacy is designed to last as long as possible. It's on us to get ourselves from up under it. But as long as we stay up under the system, we will fall victim to all of the ills of the system of white supremacy. That is the cost of assimilation. So chapter 15, the last chapter, is the symbolism, logic, and meaning of justifiable deletion. YouTube guidelines, justifiable deletion. All right. Black people are afraid, but black people are going to have to get over their fear. Black people don't know what is happening, but black people are going to have to learn and understand what is happening. Black people are not thinking, but black people are going to have to begin to think. Black people are not being quiet, but black people are going to have to start getting quiet so they can think. Black people are not analyzing and planning, but black people are going to have to begin analyzing and planning. Black people do not understand deep self-respect, but black people are going to have to learn the meaning and practice of deep self-respect. Black people are going to have to stop permitting black children to play with parenthood, but black people are going to have to stop moaning, rocking, crying, complaining, and begging. Black people are going to have to stop thinking that rhyme and rhetoric will solve problems. Black people are going to have to stop finger popping and singing. Black people are going to have to stop dancing and clowning. Black people are going to have to stop laughing and listening to loud radios. All of these behaviors and many more have absolutely nothing to do with addressing the challenges and conditions of the open warfare continuously being waged against black collective. We got to grow up. Basically what she's saying, we got to grow up. We got to stop playing, because there's a system of justifiable deletion that is happening, that has always happened to us while we were on this continent, while we were enslaved and in bondage and as a working class, a labor class on this continent. As long as we have been in a subservient position, we have been deleted unjustifiably. We black people do not see the war being waged against us because we don't want to and because we are afraid. We are engaging in behavior designed specifically to block out any awareness of the war, our true reality. Our behavior thus forces us into the insanity of hoping and begging, as opposed to the sanity of analysis. Specific behavioral patterns, design, and specific conduct in all areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. We have to get out of the fear. Talked about that on Saturday. The black fear. The black fear. We understand the consequences, the overall consequences, the bottom line consequences that come to standing against the system of white supremacy. We understand that. But we also understand that we got to get out of the fear. Until we get out of the fear, we will continue to be mentally ill under the system of white supremacy. A major strategy in the war against the black collective is the deleting of black males. Black males are being deleted daily in ever increasing numbers across the country. Remember, this was written in the 1980s. Other as non-white males are also being in ever increasing numbers, or deleted in ever increasing numbers. These black and other non-white males are being deleted by white males in uniforms who have been authorized to carry guns. This particular form of deletion and slaughter is called justifiable deletion. Our black collective today has no greater understanding of this war and the phenomenon of justifiable deletion than it did when black males were being lynched and castrated daily 100 years ago in the period of Reconstruction or reestablishment of white supremacy following the Civil War. Nor does the black collective have a greater understanding of the current open hunting season on black males than it did 2 or 3 decades ago. We black people do not see the war waged against us because we don't want to and because we are afraid. We are engaged in behavior designed specifically to block out any awareness of the war, our true reality. Our behavior thus forces us into the insanity of hoping and begging, as opposed to the sanity of analysis, specific behavioral pattern design, and specific conduct in all areas of people activity: economics, education, and entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. A major strategy in the war against the black collective is the deleting of black males. Black males are being deleted daily in ever increasing numbers across the country. Other as non-white males are being deleted in ever increasing numbers. These black and other non-white males are being deleted by white males in uniforms who have been authorized to carry guns. This particular form of deletion and slaughter is called justifiable deletion. Our black collective today has no greater understanding of this war and the phenomenon of justifiable deletion than it did when black males were being lynched and castrated daily 100 years ago in the period of Reconstruction, or the reestablishment of white supremacy following the Civil War. Nor does the black collective have a greater understanding of the current opening hunting season on black males than it did 2 or 3 decades ago. And we have to understand, they have always had black males in their crosshairs. They have always had black males in their sights because, once again, going back to what Dr. Welsing is saying, black males have the greatest potential for genetic annihilation. So because black males have the greatest potential for genetic annihilation, they have to constantly make sure that they are deleting enough black men so they can feel safe. Either going to delete the black men, emasculate the black men, make them passive or whatever, but black men cannot be a threat. Black men cannot be a threat. Black men cannot be a threat. And the only way that black men cannot be a threat is to delete their genetic potential, one way or another. Because we really don't understand what is going on, and our impotence and ignorance and our powerlessness and frustration, we're getting mad, fussing, crying, rhyming, begging, with picket signs, rioting, and misdirecting, hooping and hollering, moaning in our churches, and preparing again to vote for any white man who smiles at us, even though he lies to us. These behaviors are all absolutely useless. Such behaviors are in vain and will take us nowhere. They will all come to naught, and the war will simply continue to intensify. Circular logic. Our default logic pattern is circular logic because of the fear. Because of the fear of the justifiable deletion. Because of the fear of justifiable deletion, our thought pattern all automatically goes to circular. It doesn't go to linear, it goes to circular. That's why the hooping and the hollering and the marching and the rhyming and the snapping and the popping and all those things that we do. We don't do anything real. We do things to make us feel better temporarily. We don't go for permanent solutions. We go for temporary things that can make us feel better. We must have a disciplined self and group respect in response to the specific war being waged against us. Without critical thinking, however, there is no self-respect. Without self-respect, there's no courage, no self-defense, no justice, no peace, and no progress. Only complaining, only whining, only wham, wham, wham. They ain't doing nothing for us. Wham, wham, wham. They ain't doing nothing for us. In the meantime, we ain't doing nothing for us. Because of the fear. Get over the fear, but understand the why. Understand the why behind the fear of the black people that you see. Understand it. It didn't just fall out of the sky. It's been conditioned. It's been beaten to us. Furthermore, black people everywhere must begin to understand why the black collective and the black males in particular have been under intensive attack for the past 2,000 years. Indeed, Jesus was a black male who was lynched in uniform by uniformed white male Roman soldiers 2,000 years ago as a result of the same war that has continued into the present day extension of the same Roman white empire. America. America means I am race. I am race. In order to maintain your position, you got to find a way to get rid of your greatest competition. Now, she goes deeper into a lot of the psychology because that's what she does. Because black males of all non-white males have the greatest potential to genetically annihilate the white collective, black males will experience the greatest ferocity of white supremacy's attack through justifiable deletion. Right? The sport of hunting animals, in most instances, they have black or dark brown fur in the white supremacy system culture, wherein there is thrill, excitement, and pleasure associated with the deletion is the way in which the white collective, most specifically the white male collective, stays in physical and psychological readiness for deleting black and other non-white males. Albeit this is obsessive practice, Albeit this obsessive practice may be functioning at an unconscious level of brain computer activity. It may be, but hey, if it's at an unconscious level, that's just how they behave. Then, if it's unconscious, that means that's just how they behave. And understanding if that's just how they behave, then we must protect ourselves at all times. At all times, because deletion can be justified. Even though nowadays we're seeing a smidget, I don't want to say a lot more, you're seeing a smidget more white uniformed men being punished, or white uniformed people being punished, but the greater overall is not. Non-white males may say that they also hunt and enjoy hunting, but obviously hunting does not carry the same unconscious meaning for the non-white males as it does for the white males in the context of the global white supremacy. Furthermore, black males have never gotten a thrill from hunting down white males with dogs or rifles as have so frequently been practiced by white males against black males. That's a psychological issue, but it's unconscious. It's unconscious. It's what they do. It's gone to the unconscious level that, hey, we must delete our competition. Our competition has to go, because if our competition is here, they fear in the back of their mind, is the fear that they have that all of the non-white people will begin to genetically annihilate us. It's their fear. It's their trauma, it's their cognitive illnesses, all of that. Right. So she's talking about capitalism, communism are not two enemies, but simply two extreme ends of the global spectrum of economic practices under the system of white supremacy, wherein it is a priority that all whites, males in particular, have jobs, whether they are at the right or left economic ends of the white supremacy spectrum. The same would be true of the Democratic Party, Republican Party political spectrum, which in this arena of the world is the total political spectrum of politics under white supremacy. So every bird has two wings. It's a game that they're playing with us. It's a game that they're playing with us to get us to choose sides, divide and conquer, and it helps to have more of their power in place and less of our power concentrated. Because if we're not working together, if we're divided upon these parties and things, and we're looking at these spectrums, and we're always finding something to argue about, we won't concentrate our power. The more depleted our power is, the more vulnerable we are. The more separate we are, the more vulnerable we are. The more vulnerable we are to justifiable deletion. Although it must be noted that while black males are being deleted in increasing numbers and experiencing high unemployment, white Cuban communists in mass numbers are being admitted to find their places, jobs, and housing in the capitalist country and are referred to as political refugees. Black Haitians, however, are not admitted and treated similarly. Remember, this was in the 1980s, and this was true, as we all know how the black Haitian refugees were being treated compared to the white Cuban refugees. I was alive for that. I know about that. I'm older than I look, trust me. In the global white supremacy system, all persons classified as non-white are outside the white power's spectrum and are in effect the real enemy. Thus, they are manipulated and or eliminated at the will of that power system. In the context of the global white supremacy, the only permanent enemies are those persons capable of white genetic annihilation, meaning black and all other non-white peoples, most specifically the males. All right. And so she also goes on to say, in the most narrow perspective, justifiable deletion refers to the overt deletion of black males or black males by white uniformed men. In the broader perspective, justifiable deletion also can refer to the numerous more subtle attacks of black male control and destruction. To deny black males jobs and genuine upward mobility is to deny them the functional roles of husbands and fathers. To deny black family units functional husbands and fathers on the mass level is to deny these families stability and to deny male children models for adult male functioning. Deprivation of male models for male functioning means permanent black male social dysfunctioning, affecting all areas of people activity for multiple generations. That's what that means. That's what that means.
Nation's criminal justice system. and they're more likely to end up in the penitentiary. It was discovered recently that even when a young black male graduates from a U.S. college, there's a good chance that he's from Africa, the Caribbean, or Europe, but not from the United States. See, this is not an accident. That's what I want to tell you. I want you to see this. These young black men are not involved in shooting and drugging and killing as an accident. This has been socially engineered.
Hey, that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. This has been socially engineered. The large number of black males engaging in drug use and abuse, including alcohol, also is tied directly to severely crippled black family structure brought about through systematically denying black males functional roles as husbands and fathers. The massive number of black males trapped in the juvenile justice system and the penal system are also related directly to the absence of truly functional fathers and husbands in the homes from which these victimized males have come. Current statistics in 1980 indicate that among blacks, the proportion of one-parent families in the staggering 49%, 1.8 million families. This is at 83% higher than a decade ago. Poverty rates among one-parent units are enormously higher than among two-parent units. So we know the single-parent rate in the black family household is like 70 to 75%. So 70 to 75% of black children are born to single-parent households. And the poverty rate, I don't know the exact poverty rate, but we know the poverty rate has increased. And we do know that the number of single black mothers who are homeless is increasing. Social engineering. It's all done. All of this is done by design. It's done by design. Remember, deletion doesn't have to always mean the physical act. It could be stripping people of the resources that they need to survive. That will also lead to deletion. It's more than just the physical act. Remember, warfare is more than just the physical act. You got to remember, think about deletion in all 9 areas of human activity. Justifiable deletion through all 9 areas of human activity. All right, just think like that. This internal pressure to preserve the role of black manhood becomes a means by which the concept of black manhood is developed and preserved by black people themselves. This activity would counter the thrust of the black male as female, clown, infant, buffoon, or a member of the LGBTQ community. Black males who are unwilling to fight for their manhood are thereby indicating that they debase black manhood and would not be able to teach it to the next generation. That's real. As black people, we also can adopt the definition that under the conditions of white supremacy, black manhood does not mean macho or money, but instead it means warrior or soldier against white supremacy, embracing everything that the words warrior or soldier imply. Those who do not wish to be warriors or soldiers should not procreate themselves. Read that again. Those who do not wish to be warriors or soldiers should not procreate themselves, as their offspring can be expected to be destroyed by white supremacy anyway. This is by no means a definitive statement on black response to justifiable deletion, but it is an attempt to elevate the discussion on the specific white supremacy war strategy. If you do not want to go to war to fight for freedom, you should not be procreating. But the problem is, a lot of women are procreating with just those men. A lot of women are procreating with those men. Those men, a lot of times, are high priority or at the top of the list of procreation, and that there is a problem. Black manhood is important. Black manhood is important for black men, women, and children. Black men, women, and children all should be promoting and supporting positive black strong manhood that is about the empowerment and upliftment of its people. Black manhood should be celebrated. Black manhood should be taught. Black manhood should be uplifted. Black manhood should be encouraged. No black man should be encouraged or taught or even persuaded in any way to be subservient or soft or docile or passive or any of those things. That does not help us to come from under the thumb of white supremacy. If we want to change our situation, we want to change our conditions, we need to promote black manhood. Black manhood needs to be promoted. Strong black men who are not doormats, who do not cower to the system of white supremacy, who are not afraid of the consequences and repercussions of white supremacy. That should be promoted. It should not be docility or passivity. That should not be promoted. Strong black manhood. And once again, Dr. Welsing, she did her thing. So we read chapters 13, 14, and 15. 13, the concept and color of God. Chapter 14 is the symbolism and meaning of SV. And chapter 15 is the symbolism, logic, and meaning of justifiable deletion. All right. And just getting to the root cause and the root of the mindset behind it all. If you don't understand the system, you don't understand the mindset behind the system, everything else you seek to understand will only confuse you. Let's get our mind right. Let's get right. Let's get on path. Let's promote positive black manhood, positive black womanhood. Let's raise our children right. Let's promote black families. Let's promote black man, woman, and child. Let's promote black man, woman, and child. Let's promote black families, strong black families, so we can improve our conditions and be better and live better and get rid of a lot of these ills. A lot of the disparities that we have can be taken care of if we fix our situation. It's on us to do it, though. It's on us to do it. Joseph Ward, happy Monday. The ISIS Papers, The Keys to Colors by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. That's how we do it. I love you all. Make sure you catch the next video.